Hi guys, today I'd like to talk about some one-liners or one thing you might do that might be the kiss of death for your date. They might never want to see you again over this one thing, one simple thing, and you can't work out what it is. Alright, so there's about 6 of them or so. Let's start with tardiness and cancelling. Now, this isn't going to turn everybody off, especially if you've got a really good excuse. But there are a lot of people, myself included, that can't stand tardiness. And if you're really late to the first date or you cancel it or something like that, it can be taken as quite disrespectful, that you don't respect the other person's time or effort or whatever. Especially if they've gone there to meet you and you didn't show up or you're really late. And they're like, why did I get all done up and drive here, and you know, and then this person can't even be bothered to show up either on time or at all. So that's going to be the kiss of death for a lot of people. I can't stand that myself. You'd have to have a really good excuse to cancel or not be really late. Even being a little bit late is annoying because, again, it's not respecting the other person's time. Now, if there's something you can't avoid, you know, your date's probably going to be okay with that if they believe you, because look, there's so many of us are so used to being lied to, and people making excuses for themselves and just trying to get out of trouble, but they lie. So she might not even believe you. So just be on time. Be on time. If you're one of those people who takes a long time to get ready, or you know you're always late, then start getting ready an hour earlier or half an hour earlier. Yeah, because I can't even stand tardiness in friends. I have one friend that is late pretty much every single time we hang out, and I do feel it's quite disrespectful. I've never said anything to her because, you know, didn't really want to lose a friend over her being 15 minutes late every time, but I don't like it. And on a first date especially, it's not something a lot of people are going to want to put up with. Alright, so that's one. Another kiss of death is saying all your exes are crazy. Now, there are some people that's not going to bother, or they're not really going to think too much about it, but there's going to be a lot of people who go, well, the common denominator here is you. You think everybody who's dated you is crazy. What does that say about you? Because there are, you know, there are a lot of people who would rather just blame the date not working out or the relationship not working out on the other person. They don't look at what they did wrong, or why the other person doesn't want to see them. They'd rather just say all their exes are crazy. So that's going to ring alarm bells. If you can't own your part in why your relationship went wrong, and at least some of your relationships, because some of them probably weren't your fault, but some of them would have been your fault, or some of them would have been both of your faults. So if your date doesn't see you taking responsibility and ownership of your part in things, that's going to ring some warning bells, because she's going to go, well, you're going to do things to me and you're not going to realise what you're doing wrong, because nothing's ever your fault. So that's one thing to avoid. And I don't mean just omit it and never look at your behaviour. What you need to do is, if you're one of these people who thinks all your exes are crazy, you need to sit down and work out what you did wrong too, because I guarantee it's not going to be all them. There's going to be a lot of women out there who are going to say all men are assholes, that's why it hasn't worked out, and that's probably more likely than men saying all my exes are crazy, because generally women don't go crazy unless you're giving them a reason to. So figure out what on earth you did wrong. And yes, there are women that do things wrong too, I guarantee it, but it would be more likely that a woman would say all men are assholes and that's why it hasn't worked out. That would be more likely to be true, and not always, but it would be more likely to be true than a man saying all his exes are crazy and that being true. So figure out what you did wrong, guys. Okay, next thing. If you're still living at home, or you're a mummy's boy or mummy's girl, or daddy's boy or daddy's girl, now still living at home when you're in uni or something, you know, that's fine, because it's a lot harder these days to pay your way than it was, say, 20 years ago. But if you're in your, once you've finished uni and you've got a job and all the rest of it, move out. Nobody wants to date somebody who doesn't know how to cook for themselves, doesn't know how to do their housework, doesn't know how to get insurance, doesn't know how to pay their bills. Nobody wants to date a 12-year-old. So get out there and experience what it's like living on your own without relying on your parents. Don't have your mother doing your washing for you if you're a grown adult. That's absolutely disgusting. Learn how to do it yourself. And if your mother is doing your washing for you because you don't have time, pay her. She's not your slave. So it would be a really, really big turn off to rock up on a date and tell your partner, tell your date you still live at home with your parents and they still take care of you. Not on. Nobody's going to be attracted to that. Nobody wants to date children unless they're pedophiles. So get out of home and don't be a mummy's boy or daddy's girl or, you know, mummy's girl or daddy's boy, whatever. Don't have your parents being your this huge crutch in your life, whether it be financially or emotionally or whatever. Don't be living in your parents' pockets. Have a normal, healthy relationship where you see them either maximum once a week, preferably, you know, once a fortnight, once a month, depending on how far away you live and all the rest of it as well. Because if they're on your way home from work and you drive past their house, then of course you're going to see them a bit more often. But if you have to make a special trip to go over there and you're there twice a week, unless you're one of those cultures where that's just the sort of done thing and you marry someone of the same culture, then there's going to be a lot of people who are really going to hate that. They don't want you to be reliant on your family. They don't want your family reliant on you, because it's really scary when, especially with single mothers, when they can't let generally sons, they can't let their sons go, and their sons are their be-all and end-all of their life, and no girl's good enough. And fathers do this too. Nobody's good enough for their child. So if you've got an unhealthy dependence on your family or vice versa, then you need to put a stop to it. Read some books. There's plenty of information out there on how to break these unhealthy family bonds. So it's not attractive. So if you are living at home, get out. Okay, next thing. Being sexist or gender stereotyping. Now, we live in a day and age where this shouldn't even... I can't even believe sexism still goes on. There's so many people out there who are anti-racism, anti-homophobia and all the rest of it, but don't really mind sexism. So, you know, why are women put to the bottom of that pile? You know, that might be the kiss of death for you. There's going to be some women that laugh it off, think you're not serious, or some of them might even be their own worst enemy, and have unconscious sexism towards women themselves. But for a fair number of women, you being sexist is going to turn them off, and you might not have a clue what you did wrong. So don't say anything sexist, and try not to gender stereotype. Like saying that she should love shopping because she's female or something. That wouldn't go down well with me because it's that's gender stereotyping, and it's not true for all women. There might be a general thing of more women might like shopping than men, but it's not exactly a true statement, because I had an ex-husband who liked shopping just as much as I did at the stage, and I actually hate clothes shopping. I can't stand it. Unless I know I'm going into a shop where things really do fit well, and most things I try on do fit well. Otherwise, I can't stand it, because you go through like 20 items to try and find one good one. So, and when I don't have the money to go shopping, I don't just window shop. I go there for a purpose. So, you know, gender stereotyping is not a good thing either. You know, in reverse, don't sit there and think automatically that that the guy you're on a date with is into sports, because I only ever dated one guy in my entire life that loved sports. All the rest didn't. So don't gender stereotype. Things are rarely gendered. We're human. And And it's just often that the media makes a big fuss about things. For example, the media will have you believe that all women are desperate to get married and pop out babies. Now, there's a lot more women these days choosing not to marry. Back in the good old days, they didn't have a lot of choice because they weren't allowed to have jobs and things, or jobs that paid well, or jobs that were meaningful or whatever. They sort of had to marry to have that financial support. These days, when women don't have to marry, there are fewer women choosing to marry, and there are quite a significant number of women who are choosing not to have babies and don't want to have babies. Now, I have actually known quite a fair few women over my life who have no interest in having children whatsoever, but I've yet to meet a man that doesn't want them. So, I mean, I hear they exist, but I've yet to meet one. So, you know, the media would have us believe that men are scared off by women wanting to have babies, and women want to drop out babies every 5 seconds. This is not true. There are more women, in my experience, that don't want kids than men. Do you know how hard it is to find a man that doesn't want kids? It's near impossible. Near impossible. So don't buy into all this media bullcrap about what genders do and don't like. A lot of things are also like, for example, there's these things on the television all the time where they do these studies where they tell these adults that the baby is one gender when it's actually not. And then they bring out another baby and they tell it it's the other gender when it's actually not. And the different way they treat the babies is really quite disgusting. The girls are given pink fluffy toys. What they think is a girl, but it's actually a boy, is given pink fluffy toys and, you know, treated all delicately, and there's nothing mentally stimulating. It's just pink fluffy toys and things like that. And then they bring out the one dressed as a boy who's actually a girl, and it's given robots and electronic toys and things that stimulate its mind, and trucks, and not treated so delicately and all the rest of it. So there's a lot of things that are conditioned into us that we are too like. And it's not necessarily true. Had we been given different opportunities and told different things growing up, we might like very different things. And pink used to actually be a boy's colour, like a darker pink, because it was seen as a stronger colour. And the girl's colour at the time was powder blue. And now that's switched, hasn't it? Pink is for girls and blue is for boys, right? So don't buy into this crap. Someone just made it up. So try not to gender stereotype, and definitely don't be sexist, or it's going to be the kiss of death in a lot of cases. All right, the next thing I want to bring up is being gross, or having bad hygiene and being smelly, having bad breath or something like that because you're not keen on cleaning your teeth. That's going to be the kiss of death for a lot of people, if not all people. Nobody wants to be with someone gross and disgusting and smelly and kiss someone that doesn't clean their teeth regularly. That's quite disgusting, and if that's how you are, then you need to change it quick smart. And touching on being gross a bit more, don't spit on the ground, and don't fart on a first date, and don't burp. Like, if you need to burp, do it with a closed mouth so it's just a little noise. You can't help burping, but you don't need to rip up a big belch and have a mouth open, one really loud, horrible noise. So tone down the grossness. Nobody wants to be with someone like that, unless she's a bogan herself, or vice versa, he's a bogan himself, or whatever. Nobody's going to appreciate it. And guys, don't buy into this, oh, you shouldn't do that because you're a lady, like, that's not ladylike, blah, 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 blah. Lose that crap. We're human. Okay, if you think it's gross when a woman does something, then she's going to think it's gross when you do it. So if you think she shouldn't be doing something because it's not ladylike, then don't do it yourself. Okay, next thing. Being a bad kisser. Now this is going to be, she's probably not going to tell you that the reason I don't want to see you again is because you're a bad kisser. So this might be one that your mind's boggled on, you can't figure out what the hell you did wrong. And when I say bad kisser, it might not necessarily be that you're a bad kisser. It might just be that you're not compatible kissers. I was with a guy once who sort of came in mouth open and gung-ho and all the rest of it, and I'm like, I had to then say, oh, let's try it my way. And I sort of told him what I like, you know, softer and come in with the mouth shut a bit more, and then, you know, lead into the tongues and slowly slide the tongues beside each other and all this sort of stuff. And he tried it out. And then he became an excellent kisser because we were a match then. We were compatible kissers. So it might be something as simple as that. You're not compatible kissers. Now, if you come in all slobbery and kiss her with the inside of your lips, you know how sometimes you see people coming in, they do the open mouth and then they drag in the inside of their bottom lip up that person's face, basically, and really slobbery and stuff, then that might be not appreciated. So it might be an idea to ask somebody who you've had a snog with before whether they don't appreciate the way you kiss and what you could do to improve it, maybe. Or you could just try and find someone who's compatible with you, but that might be one to consider if you can't figure out what you did wrong. Okay, next thing. And this one is really quite rude. Playing with your phone when she's talking to you. If you're there scrolling through Facebook or sending texts or looking up something and she's trying to have a conversation with you, that is so incredibly rude. It's so disrespectful. It just sends a message that you have no interest in what she's saying. You're not listening. You're just biding the time until you get your sex or something. Nobody wants to be around someone like that. Nobody's going to want to see you again. Now, I knew someone once, and I nearly laughed, but I didn't say anything. They were complaining about someone they knew scrolling through their phone the whole time they were talking to them. And Dan turned around and did it to me when I was talking to them. How do people not see what they do? If you don't like something someone else does, then, and you're doing it yourself, maybe that person's doing it because you do it. So figure out if you do these things. But yeah, if you do that, don't count on your date wanting to see you again, because it's really disrespectful. Actually pay them attention and look at them when they talk and listen. Okay, last thing. Being aggressive. Nobody wants to date someone who they may fear might turn around and hit them one day, or just be generally verbally aggressive. I was on a date once with a guy, and we were at sort of a little bit upper class restaurant, and the, what is it, a maitre d' or something, whatever it is, the person that's the host, they seat you and then that's about it, the waiters take over. Anyway, as he seated us, he was saying something to us, and yeah, he was being a little bit cheeky to my date, but you know, instead of sort of letting the guy know it wasn't really cool but in a funny way, he said it in a dead serious way, and it was slightly aggressive, and like the host was sort of like, ooh, and ooh, geez, ooh, just walked away, you know. So don't be aggressive. Like he said something like, oh, you're being a bit cheeky, mate, you know, like threatening, like, you know, if you keep it up, I'm going to deck you. Where he could have said something like, he could have turned to me and gone, oh, well, you listen to the cheek on this guy, and made a bit of a joke about it, and the guy would have gotten the hint without him being aggressive. So, I mean, I don't mean you can't tell the waiter that there's something wrong with your food or whatever. That's completely fine. But don't get aggressive and don't sound threatening, because nobody's going to want to see you again if they think that you're the kind of person that's going to be aggressive with them. All right, so there's a bunch of kisses of death that maybe you're doing wrong and your dates never want to see you again. Sorry about the length of this video. It is quite a long one. I tried to cover a lot of topics in one. So I'll leave it right there. And from Aussie Land, farewell.